Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing an Exosister deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck that can easily control the field and the graveyard, and I've included some really spicy tech cards in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell near so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Exosister Martha. Martha is definitely a 3-of in the build, and this card is probably the most powerful card in the entire deck. Because if you control no monsters or only XZ monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, special summon an Exosister release from your deck, helping you get 2 level 4 monsters out on your side of the field so you can make an Exosister XZ monster. Because the turn you activate this effect, you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Exosister monsters, which is totally fine because we have some awesome Exosister XZ monsters we can make using those 2 monsters we put on the field with this card's ability. This card also has a really cool effect that if a card is moved out of either player's graveyard, you can special summon from your X deck one Exosister XZ monster using this face-up card you control as a material, and it is treated as an XZ summon, which is a great ability. We then play 3 copies of Exosister Elise. Elise is definitely a 3-up to go along with our copy of Martha, and this card is the ability if you control an Exosister monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then if you control a copy of Exosister Stella, you gain 800 life points, which is a great effect. And all of your other Exosister monsters, including your copy of Elise, share a common effect that if your opponent moves a card from either player's graveyard, then you get to special summon from your X deck one Exosister XZ monster using this face-up card you control as a material, which is a great ability. The difference between the rest of your Exosister monsters effects and your copy of Martha, though, is you can actually move cards out of your graveyard for Martha's effect, where all the other Exosister monsters actually require your opponent to move cards instead. We then play 2 copies of Stella. Stella's a great 2-of in the build and just helps out a lot in the deck because it has the ability that during your main phase, you can actually special summon an Exosister monster from your hand, and if you control a copy of Elise, you gain 800 life points, which is a really cool effect. We then play just a single copy of Sophia. Sophia is just a good 1-of in the deck that has a great ability that if another Exosister monster is on your side of the field, you can actually draw a card. Then if you control a copy of Irene, you gain 800 life points. We then play a single copy of Irene. I feel like Irene and Sophia, you only need a single copy each, and Sophia is really good to go along with our 1-of Irene, but Irene is just a great 1-of that lets you place an Exosister card from your hand on the bottom of the deck and then draw a card. Then if you control a copy of Sophia, you get to gain 800 life points. We then play 3 copies of Aratama. Aratama is one of the best normal summons in the entire build because this card has the ability that when this card is normal summoned out to your side of the field, you get to add a spirit monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is always going to be a copy of Sakitama that you're going to be searching off your copy of Aratama's effect. Sakitama is an amazing card to be able to play in the build because this card is a really insane ability that you're going to reveal this card in your hand. Immediately after this effect resolves, you get to normal summon a spirit monster from your hand to your side of the field, which is a really cool ability to normal summon out your copy of Aratama, add a copy of Sakitama from hand, reveal your copy of Sakitama, and then normal summon out Sakitama, getting you 2 level 4 monsters out on your side of the field just by normal summoning out Aratama. And you can also use Sakitama as an extender alongside your Exosister monsters, which is great to make rank 4 plays in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. This deck is amazing because you don't really rely on the graveyard that much, so this card is amazing to be able to use in the build to make sure everything is going to get banished. And this card is insane in the build because if you activate this card, usually you're going to instantly win the game depending on what you're playing against. So this card is definitely a 3-of in the build. We're then playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the build, basically just to stop the opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru's insane in this build to basically just break your opponent's board, and this deck is amazing because you have so much room in the deck for hand traps. We then play 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is just a really good 2-of in the deck because this card does have to go to the graveyard, which does go a little bit against your copy of Shifter, which is why I just play 2 copies of Veiler and 3 copies of Shifter in the deck. But Veiler is really good to stop your opponent's monster effects. I also play Imperm in the deck, so this card is just a really good 2-of in the build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, guys, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is an amazing 1-of in the deck, basically just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play 3 copies of Exosister Pax. Pax is like Rhoda for the deck, but better. This card has the ability, during the main phase, you pay 800 life points to add an Exosister card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. Then, if you added a monster by this effect, you can special summon it if the other Exosister monster mentioned on it is on your field or in the graveyard, which is a great ability to instantly get another monster out on your side of the field. This card is absolutely crazy as a 3-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is amazing in the build because we play so many different cards in the extract at multiples, so this card is really good just to help us dig into the deck for the exact card that we need. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, guys, we're going to start with a single copy of Vadis. Vadis is really good as a 1-of in the build, that you pay 800 life points and choose an Exosister monster from your deck, then take one other Exosister monster in your deck that is mentioned on that monster and special summon both, but shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. Also, for the rest turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extract except Exosister monsters, but this card is amazing to help you get monsters out on your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Returnia. Returnia is definitely a 2-of in the build, and I absolutely love this card because if all monsters you control are Exosister monsters, minimum 1, you can pay 800 life points and then target one card that your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. Then apply one of the following effects. To me, this effect resolves, XZ summon an Exosister XZ monster using monster control, or if you XZ summon this turn, banish one card your opponent controls, which is a really cool effect to use this card, and this card is definitely a 2-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good as a 3-of just to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. This card is an amazing 3-of in the build and just overall a fantastic card. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extract, guys, we're going to start off with Exosister Magnifica. Magnifica is definitely a 2-of in the build, just an amazing boss monster to summon out to your side of the field. It does require 2 rank 4 Exosister monsters to make this card almost like a copy of F-Zero, which is really cool. It has the ability that must be XZ summoned with the above materials, and this card can make a second attack during each battle phase. And once per turn, quick effect, you can detach a material from this card to banish one card your opponent controls, non-targeting, which is really insane. And when your opponent activates a card effect, quick effect, you can actually return an XZ monster you control attached to this card back to your extract. Then you can special summon that monster from your extract using this card you control as a material, essentially letting you tag it out and summon out the exact Exosister monster that you need from your extract, which is really cool about this card. We then play 3 copies of Macaulus. Macaulus is definitely a 3-of in the build. It's an insane card that cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summon from the graveyard, and you can only use the following effects this card once per turn, that if you control this card that was XZ summoned this turn by using an Exosister monster as a material, then quick effect, you can actually target one card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. And you can also detach a material from this card to add an Exosister spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is why we only play 2 copies of one of the trap and 1 copy of the other trap, is because you can actually search them off this card's ability. And this card is super easy to summon in this deck. We then play 2 copies of Caspatel. Caspatel is definitely a 2 of the build. It's an insane card, as this card is either cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summon from the graveyard. You can only use the following effects card once per turn. If this card is XZ summoned using an Exosister monster as material, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard for the rest of the turn, but you can detach a material from this card to add an Exosister monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability to instantly get to your copy of Martha off this card's ability. We then play just a single copy of a Sophiel. Sophiel is a really good card, but I feel like 1 is really all you need. If this card is XZ summoned using an Exosister monster as a material, neither player can activate cards or effects in the graveyard this turn, but you can also detach a material in this card and then target 1 monster your opponent controls and return it back to the hand, which is a really cool ability to basically use this card as a bounce. We then play a single copy of Gabrine. Gabrine is just good as a 1-of overall. This card is fantastic, but I feel like 1 is all you need. This card is a really cool ability that basically, if you control this card that was XZ summoned this turn by using an Exosister monster as a material, then quick effect, you can actually target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. And you can also detach a material from this card for the rest of the turn. All XZ monsters you control gain 800 attack points, which helps you go in for game. We then play a single copy of Baguska, just in case we need to slow down the game. This card is really good as a 1-of in the build, and I really like summoning this card out to the field. We then play a single copy of AA Zeus. AA Zeus is really good because we do play a deck that basically focuses around XZ monsters, so this card is insane as a board wipe. We then play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon's really good as a 1-of in the deck because it's very easy to summon in this build, and it's an overall fantastic card. We then play a single copy of Access Code. The Link monsters are optional in the deck. You can play cards like other XZ monsters, but I really like this engine in the deck because it helps us summon out a 5,300 attack point Access Code that can actually pop cards on the field. But this card is really good as a 1-of in the build, just to help us OTK. We then play a single copy of Celine to help us link climb into our copy of Access Code, and then finally a single copy of the Light Charmer because it's very easy to bring back a copy of an Effect Veiler or a Light monster from your opponent's graveyard. And then once you do, summon out your copy of Celine using this and the Effect Veiler that you use from the opponent's graveyard. And then once you do that, you basically use your copy of Celine to bring back a Spellcaster from the grave and then step into an Access Code that comes out at 5,300, which is insane to be able to do. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Exosister before, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's really fun to be able to play, and it's insane how powerful this deck is, just to be able to basically control the graveyard and control the field with all your insane Exosister cards. So that's going to do it with this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.